Alright, this is the second video on conics, and specifically it's about circles. Here we go. Now, circles, on the first video, we talked about all the formulas for circles. Here's the formula for circle that you need to memorize. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where r is the radius. And if you remember, the center is always hk, and we have to switch the signs when we take them out. Now, we take this format and we analyze equations to come up with the center and the radius. Okay? That's all you got to do on these right here. So let's look. To find my center, I need to know what h and k are. Well, h is always subtracted from x. K is always subtracted from y. Well, notice in the equation nothing's subtracted. That means my x value is 0. And there's nothing being subtracted from y. That means my y value is 0. The radius, notice in the equation, radius squared is whatever it equals, right? So I just need to take the square root. Square root of 49 is 7, alright? So don't worry about plus or minus 7, it's just positive 7 because it's a distance. Alright, so that problem's done. I found the center and I found the radius. Let's look at number 2. Let's find center. H goes with x and k goes with y. So remember, I got to switch those signs when I pull them out. So this will be a negative 9 and a negative 1 for my center. The radius is the square root of what it equals, so it's just a 6. Number 3, it's not in the right format because x squared and y squared are not on the same side of the equal sign, so I need to put it in standard form. So what I'm going to do is going to move that x squared over and rewrite it. Now it's in standard form for circles, as long as all the squared terms are on one side and the constants are on the other side. Alright, so now I analyze it for the center. H is what's subtracted from x, but there's nothing, so it's a 0. K is what is subtracted from y, and there's nothing, so it's a 0. The radius is the square root of what it equals. Square root of 16 is 4. Alright, so there's your directions. Put it in standard form. Tell me the radius. That's your directions for all of them, but they're not all this nice and pretty, right? So let's see what happens. Okay, so look at this. Ooh, there's more pieces to this puzzle. We're going to have to put them together. Now this one is kind of nice because they put all the x's on one end and y's on one end, but still it's not in standard form. So we have to first put it in standard form. And what you have here is a squared binomial, and this is a squared binomial. So we need to create squared binomials. Now, here's the mechanics of how it works, and when we get to class I'll get into more details on why it works. But for now, let's just talk mechanics, okay? So I'm going to take just the x's right here, focus on just those x's, and then I'm going to do something separate with my y. Same process, just different numbers. So in order to draw or to write a squared binomial, it's ultimately what I want is x and y equals 26, right? Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is you look at the regular x term. It has a coefficient of negative 2. So I'm going to take half of that. What's half of negative 2? It's a 1. Keep the sign the same in the middle, so it's a negative. Alright? Here, with the y's, do the same thing. What's this term? It's a 6. Take half of that and you get a 3. Keep the sign the same in the middle. Now, you remember in algebra, what you do to one side of the equation, you have to do another. So by creating these square binomials, we're actually adding numbers to our left side. So in order to keep it balanced, we have to add the same numbers to the right. Well, how do you know what those numbers are? Well, here's how it is. Over here, what you're going to do is take that negative 1 and square it. Well, negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. So I'm adding 1 to the right. On the second binomial, 3 squared is 9, so I'm going to add 9 more. Alright, so now let's see what we have. X minus 1 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 26 plus 10, basically. Well, that's 36. Now, this is in standard form. Now I can state the center. H is 1, k is negative 3, and the radius is the square root of 36, or 6. Alright? Standard form, center, and radius. Let's try another one. Okay, so look, We got all our x's together on one end, y's here, and this this 24. I'm going to move my 24 over just to get it out of the way. Alright, so let's do that. X squared minus 6x plus y squared minus 8y equals negative 24. Now we need to create the binomials to be squared, just like we did. So x, or completing the square is what it's called, guys. Alright, let's figure this out. So take half of 6, which is 3, keep the sign the same, so it's a minus. Half of 8, which is 4, keep the sign the same, that's a minus. But we got to balance it. So be careful. What is negative 3 squared? Well, that's 9. So I'm going to add 9 over here on the right. Negative 4 squared is 16, so I'm adding 16. So I have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals, now let's number crunch here. 9 plus 16 is 25. Negative 24 plus 25 is 1. Now it's in standard form. We are there. So what's the center? Well, the vertex is hk, right? So x is 3, or h is 3, k is 4. There's my center. The radius is the square root of 1, which is just 1. So I have my standard form, my center, and my radius. Alright, this one's not as friendly because look, my x's aren't together, my y's aren't together, and I need to move that constant over. So let's do some rearranging in the first step. So I'm going to do x squared. I'm going to move that minus 6x next to it, plus the y squared, minus 2y, and I'm moving that 6 over by subtracting it from both sides. Now I can complete the square. So x, half of 6 is 3, keep the minus, and square it. Y, half of 2 is 1, keep the negative right there in the middle, square it, equals negative 6. Now we need to balance it. Negative 3 squared is 9, so I've got to add 9 over here. Negative 1 squared is 1, so add 1 here. Alright, so let's clean this up just a little bit. Negative 6 plus 9 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. Done. Standard form is accomplished. Alright, where's your center? Well, h is 3, k is 1, and the radius is the square root of this, which is 2. Center radius, this one's done. Let's try another one. Okay, let's see. X's are together, y's are together, constants on the left. Or I'm sorry, it's on the right. All is good. Let's complete the square. Half of 12 is 6. Now notice there's nothing added or subtracted to y, so I can just leave it as y squared and leave it as 13. All is good. But I still need to balance it because I had to complete the square for x. So 6 squared is 36. So I need to add 36 to this side. So now I have x plus 6 squared plus y squared equals 49 when you add the 2. So now we're in standard form. The center, h and k, so h is negative 6, k is 0, and the radius is the square root of 49, which is 7. Okay? Hopefully this is making some sense to you. I got one more example. If you want to try to pause the video and work it yourself and then come back and check it, do it. If you need me to talk you through it, then stay tuned and we'll keep going. So let's complete the square on this one. It's not in standard form, so we got to fix it. X squared is fine like it is, so we need to complete the y squared. Half of 20 is 10, but I'm going to keep the negative sign as negative. Keep negative 36 over here. Now I got to balance it. Negative 10 times negative 10 is 100, so I have to add 100 over here. So x squared plus y minus 10 squared equals 64. Alright, now it's in standard form. The center, h is 0, k is 10, change the sign, don't forget, and the radius is the square root of 64, which is 8. Alright, hopefully that makes sense. We've completed the square, put our circles in standard form, and identified centers and radiuses. Alright, we'll see you in class.